All right, Bills Mafia, you know what time it is, baby. And actually, cool situation tonight, man. First time ever on the Bills YouTube channel. Well, we're going to have some guests tonight, man. And these are two familiar faces. If you are anywhere on YouTube and you search anything Bills related, you going to see Tommy, obviously, from the Mafia Sports Report, and, of course, the homie Aramis with the Podium podcast as well, man. But appreciate both of y'all jumping on the show with me tonight. And like I said, man, I'm super excited to finally get a chance to talk with some Bills Mafia on the Bills YouTube side of this thing, all right? Because last time I talked to both of y'all, let's see, Sean McDermott was still our head coach. We were still kicking a lot of booty at the time, right? Yep. Running up the wins. I think Josh might have been, we were talking ourselves into him being the favorite for MVP. And now a lot has changed since then. Yeah. Not only have we fired a coach, we've hired a coach, right? We promoted a coach, promoted a GM. I mean, we got a quarterback on crutches and in the boot right now. I mean, this is some everything going on. So how y'all want to start this? Tommy, Aramis, which one of y'all want to dissect this thing first, man? Because holy smokes.
Go ahead, A.
Oh, my God. You got me going first. Okay. Let's see how much they love me after this one. So I mean, this has been a very interesting, several days, I guess 2-week period that we've had here between, Sean McDermott leaving and then the press conference and all the criticism around the press conference. Then we get to the coach hiring. And I think what kind of threw people off with this transition from Sean McDermott to Joe Brady was a lot of what was said in the press conference with Terry Pegula and Brandon Beane. And, I mean, I feel kind of silly because I'm usually the one that sits and kind of, parses through what they say in the press conferences and tries to break that down for people. And I did a little bit of that in a show last week, I think. And I didn't figure out that they were really trying to tell us up front that they wanted to hire Joe Brady. I didn't figure that out. I don't know why I didn't figure it out, but we get to the hire and he's here and he's even hired an offensive line coach already, so he's off and running. And I'll say this before I pass it on to Tommy. I think we are in a position now where we fit the trend of the NFL, right? Because I came out with this stat about 3 years ago when I first started doing my show. And that stat is, if you look at the history of the NFL over the last 12 years, a non-defensive coach, and by coach I mean head coach, has won the Super Bowl 11 of the last 12 years, right? John Harbaugh was one of those non-defensive coaches, and then everybody else after that was Andy Reid, Nick Sirianni, and there's one more guy, Sean McVay. Right, that's it. It's those guys. Oh, I'm sorry, and Tom Brady won one with down in Tampa, Bruce Arians. Yep. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. So we are now in this mold of we've got an offensive guy. We're following the trend. So hopefully that's what leads us to the promised land, because now we're starting to work with an offensive guy and just move with the wave.
Yeah. All right. What about you, Tommy? Talk to me, baby.
Look, first thing I gotta say is, by changing nothing changes, right? I go by that motto. And McDermott, look, he was a good coach. We respect what he did here. I felt like there was a lot of good for that, what McDermott did. But once again, this is a league where you got to eventually get the job done, right? Mm-hmm. This is a business, and the business is what? Getting championships.
Win, baby. Come on, man.
He failed to do that, right? And he failed to do it, right? He was here 9 seasons. And I actually said something about, because somebody mentioned something on Twitter. I'm like, people talking about Terry Pegula, the Bills owner, like disrespecting Sean McDermott, all that stuff. Like, if anything, he was loyal to him, very loyal. He gave him 9 seasons. And then not to mention that, he gave him more seasons after the debacle, after the 13-second game, right? Where many fans, including myself, was already done at that point. Wanted to move on after that 13-second game. There was no excuse for that to happen, but yet it did. And then he gave him more years after that 13-second game. So he was more than loyal to Sean McDermott. So I don't want to hear, like, when I hear Bills Mafia all upset about can't believe it, how could you do Sean like this? 9 seasons, folks. We're in this league to win a Super Bowl, not to be good, not to be a playoff team, but to get rings, championships, Lombardi Trophy. And unfortunately, he didn't get it done. He hit a playoff wall. And I say this too about coaches, goes the same for players, right? Every player has a ceiling. When we talk about ceiling, coaches do too. And I feel like McDermott, his ceiling as a head coach, at least in my eyes, now he could go on and maybe progress and get better and find his way. But here in Buffalo, he hit his wall, he hit his ceiling, and we had to move on. And the next thing was, and I think a lot of Bills Mafia agree, and Aramis agrees as well, I believe, we need an offensive-minded head coach. The time was now. I felt like during McDermott's time here, for some reason, they moved away from building this team around Josh Allen. They shifted away from it, and they shifted towards other things like defense that actually failed us, right? So if McDermott shifted away and the defense actually was better and actually was winning us games and actually was not letting the team down in key moments, then maybe we can go, okay, I get why you were shifting away a little bit there, concentrating on the defense, but that wasn't the case, unfortunately. So now that we go back to an offensive-minded head coach, I'm hoping, and I think all of Bills Mafia is hoping, that we can start building around your franchise MVP quarterback, how it should have been done while Sean McDermott was here the whole time.
Oh, baby. Shout out. Hey, look, that's what I was hoping for, man. I said, man, don't come over here and be all proper and acting all nice and buttoned up. Pretty please don't be like that with me. All right, guys? Thank you. All right. Thank you. Jeez, man.
Fair enough. I'm trying to be nice, bro. I'm trying to be nice.
Well, you know, I think that when as I watch this, like, man, if y'all don't cut that out, man, I see you. I know how you are. All right.
All right, can I say one thing real quick? Can I say one thing?
Yes, man.
So, all right. So, I watched the press conferences today, and the one thing that troubles me with this entire situation and what I think, because ESPN has been talking about, did the job, become less appealing after the press conference last week and all that kind of stuff. Watching how this entire process went through, you kind of get the impression that the team is doing all of this for the sake of appeasing Josh Allen, right? Mm-hmm. You look at what the owner said. I went and I saw Josh crying, and you hear the criticism about the roster, the Vic Carucci report about, he went to a meeting, he went to Terry's office and criticized the staff, not the staff, but the roster. And then you kind of put that all together in a box. And then, oh, by the way, you include into that Richie Incognito on the show that he does with Skip Bayless goes out and says, yeah, I heard from a couple of guys in the building that Terry was actually thinking about firing Sean at the beginning of the season and said if he doesn't make the Super Bowl, he's out of here, right? So all of this was really part of a pre-planned deal, right? Now, the aftermath of all of this is, well, the Bills needed a receiver and didn't get one. Brandon Beane didn't do it. Well, is it possible that because they knew at the beginning of the season if he didn't make the Super Bowl that he was going to be gone, that we're not going to use our first-round pick to give him what he needs? We're going to save it for our next incoming head coach? I mean, is that possible at all?
I talk your talk. I see it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to me, all of this just kind of comes down to not just they're doing this for Josh Allen, but I think it also brought out something that none of us really expected to see from our owner, which is he makes emotional decisions. He makes very emotional decisions. I mean, if you like the way he conducted the press conference, it looked like somebody told him that his children were ugly or something. You know what I mean? Like he couldn't wait to bash Sean McDermott as much as possible. To the point where
he interjected in the middle of it to take on that. So absolutely,
yeah. And here's what was interesting about it. When Terry jumps in to put the blame on the coaching staff for Keon Coleman's pick, what did Brandon Beane do? Oh, no, that's my pick. Why did he do that, though? Is it possible that Brandon Beane is doing that knowing that Joe Brady was the favorite for that head coaching job? And he didn't want to put it on the coaches.
Yeah.
Okay.
I gotta agree with Aramis big time. I think this was something that was pre-planned almost to a point where Joe Brady was probably going to be the next head coach regardless if Sean McDermott didn't get the job done here right this year. He was top tier on the list. The hire came within 6 days after the press, basically after Sean McDermott was fired. There was, not that I recall, there was no other interviews. There was one interview by each. There was no second interviews by any other coach out there. So they actually, no, I take that back. Joe Brady was the second interview. So they actually interviewed Joe Brady twice. First, he was the initial, meaning he was top of. So you think about it like a draft. They have their draft board. They have a coach board, right? You know, number one was Joe Brady, and anybody else had to blow them out of the water, right? Like their interviews, right? And apparently it didn't happen that way, right? And I felt like they already were so strongly invested in the idea of Joe Brady being the head coach that maybe they didn't really listen too much to the other interviews or took what they had to say and said, maybe this guy could be a better match. I think, and to Aramis' point was, they let Sean McDermott go, who was here for 9 seasons, eight of them with Josh Allen, who built a relationship, who had, let's be honest, in 2022, there was a lot of stuff that went down in Buffalo, the city of Buffalo, the shooting, the, Dalton Kincaid's brother passing away, DeMar Hamlin incident. And, in a way, like Sean McDermott was there, and he did a good job with rallying the troops and I think emotionally, they saw him as maybe not a father figure, but they saw him as a family in a way, right? So for them to move on from Sean McDermott, I almost feel like they were like, all right, we gotta maybe stay in house here. Joe Brady's he's been here since 2022. This is an easy transition. Josh will get behind it. Dalton Kincaid will get behind it. Players will get behind it that are kind of salty right now, right? This is an easy transition, and that's really why I feel like Joe Brady got the job as well, over better candidates, in my opinion. Also with that too, I think Bean didn't want a guy coming in where he might have had to play tug of war with, right? Where decision making could have been, I got another Sean McDermott on my hand here, where now he has a guy going, hey, Joe, you know what I want, right? This is my team. I'm running. You understand? You're the head coach, but I'm running the shit now, right? You get that. Oh, dude, I get it. You got me the job. Yeah. So let's go. That's
facts, man. And it's cool to hear both of y'all say, very similar, stances with that, because, from my standpoint, man, player style, it's like, man, what McDermott did when he took over, man, we can't minimize that, right? We know what the franchise was. We know what their postseason success was. We know how they were viewed in the division when McDermott took over. So for him to get to where he got the organization to, yes, you become a victim of your own success. It happens, right? It's one of those things, man. If you talk about the proverbial ceiling, we always say it's the other part, right? The Dark Knight, man. Live long enough to, you die a hero, or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And to a degree, that was what happened with McDermott. It started with the 13 seconds Kansas City Chiefs debacle. Trust me, y'all felt like that. Y'all not the only ones. We all was feeling like that. It was like, bro, how? Right? Because we have never seen that to this day. Yeah. But at the same time, it was that weird feeling the past couple of seasons of a ton of regular season success. You feel like you're always dominant. You feel like you're always in it, but yet every playoff loss is weird. Missed field goal, questionable drop here, 13 seconds there. And it's just like, okay, is it bad luck or is it bad coaching? Is it, decision making in some of these critical moments? And to me, when we think of all of those things, and it's like, man, all right, you've been here how long? You've had how many of these opportunities? I think of it from the other standpoint of, man, we know your team goes as your quarterback goes. So as long as you got that guy, you better do whatever you can to maximize that window. Yep. And when I look at how we were trending, especially with the defensive-minded approach, while you have an all-world reigning MVP and MVP finalist right now, I'm still holding out hope. We know how it's a long shot. I'm still holding out hope. Take it, all right? But when I think of that standpoint, it's like, well, what makes this guy be his best self? Is it a guy that's going to be coaching him from a defensive standpoint, or a guy that's going to be building around him from a defensive mind point? Or is it a guy that's going to say, man, I know how to get more out of you. I can get more juice out of this. These receivers, man, look, yeah, we could upgrade them, but I also, let me drive this a little bit more. Man, we could be a little bit more aggressive offensively. And I do agree. I feel like we did. The shift to me happened when we moved on from Brian Dable. when we allowed Dable to leave to go to the Giants, and then we promoted Ken Dorsey, it was like, okay, we're going to start shifting defense. And then Dorsey gets fired, and it's like, okay, is it Dorsey? Dorsey goes over to Cleveland. It is what it is. But Joe Brady comes over, and it's like, or not comes over, he gets promoted. And it's like, man, he hits the ground running. And granted, we saw more of a shift with the running backs being the focal point, and we're like, all right, cool, everybody eats. But you get to the postseason, and now we're still banging our head against the same day going wall, and it's like, come on now. This isn't Lamar Jackson we lost to this time. This wasn't Joe Burrow we lost to this time. It wasn't Dable and Patrick Mahomes we lost to this time. It's like, man, heck, you could even gave me Justin Herbert. It's like, come on, man. That's the frustrating part. So when you get all of that balled up, it's like, yeah, we got to make a move. But how do you make a move off of a team that we would all agree are still very much contenders without upsetting the head of that, which is Josh Allen?
Right.
And Joe Brady does, slot right in there perfectly. He has offensive coordinator experience also. It's not like it's his first time. And it wasn't like his first time was just in Buffalo. And I think that's the part that if you're on this team right now, you can get behind that. But the thing I got to ask y'all is when we look at Joe Brady and the promotion, right? Compared to the names that were also being interviewed, Brian Dable, that's homegrown. That was a part of this before, right? Anthony Lynn, that's been a part of this before, right? So we think of those two dudes. I'm like, man, neither one of them got the nod over Joe Brady. We obviously could talk, Grant Udinski, who's obviously the OC down in Jacksonville. That was a hot shot name. He spent some time up in Minnesota. But it's like, man, we could go in all these other names, and it's like, Joe Brady. So how did y'all feel when we literally are comparing these names that we talked to, and we're still saying, no, Joe's the guy we want?
You want to go first, me?
Or you can go ahead.
Not happy. Very displeased. If I could be brutally honest.
If we're going to do the Sean McDermott, all right, cool, it's time to move on, which we can all be with that. I'm like, yo, if we're going to be honest about that, can we be honest about this too?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, not overly pleased. Look, I'm a diehard Bills fan, so it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, whoever they were going to hire, I was going to back. I'll back regardless because, I want my team to be successful, even if I don't care for the guy or whatever the case may be. I'm rooting for the team, right? Not the individual. So it is what it is. But no, dude, like let's be real. There was better coaches available. Kubiak is one of them that we could have waited around and saw, at least interviewed him after the Super Bowl. I thought Brian Dable, to be honest with you, would have been probably a slightly better fit than Joe Brady, though I had some issues with him as well. He had some issues in New York.
Elaborate a little bit, though, because I thought Dable was going to be like the favorite just because we saw what he did before leaving.
So I had him actually as my one. Like I thought if he could build a good coaching staff around him, a good DC, I would have been okay with that. He was actually my first choice because of the history he had with Josh. That was the most important. Josh had his best seasons. Even though we talk about MVP Josh with Joe Brady, statistically, he actually had way better numbers with Brian Dable. And some say he actually got snubbed for MVP years ago when he really was at his all-time, playing at his all-time high best, right? Last year, I kind of felt like they gave it to him because he was snubbed in the past. And the fact that look what he had to work with, look what he did. He got to so they took that all into consideration, just kind of gave it to him. But really, there was people going, "Wow, Lamar was better, Burrow was better." Like, are you sure about that? So it was and I kind of understood the argument, right? Look, here's my problem with the Brady. Here's what my main concerns with and why I didn't really, or I don't care for the hire. He had problems in Carolina, right? As OC, right? Everybody knows he was a pass game coordinator at LSU. He never was the OC. A lot of people they don't know that, or they don't.
They just lump it all in there together and say, "Yo, he was down there with Burrow." The guys, he like
Chase and Jefferson. Look what they did. And that offense was dynamic, and it's like, bro, he was a pass game coordinator. He didn't have the pressure of being an OC, right? There's a big difference. So he goes to Carolina. Now, mind you, Rule's not the greatest head of NFL head coach, but I don't care what the head of coach does, right? I've seen OCs and DCs do their job and do it very well with a bad head coach, right? So he went there, and did a poor job. He got fired. Now, mind you, I never really read into what was going on with Brady or reasons why he got fired until this year, because I'm like, you know what? I'm very curious. Why did Brady get let go?
Why didn't this work?
What was the thought process? Like, what were national media saying? What was local media saying? Right? What were fans saying 4 years ago? Right? Everything they've said, I've been saying the last 2 years about Joe Brady. Very predictable, right? Very vanilla type offense, right? Doesn't scheme his receivers up, right, to make them successful on the field. Doesn't understand players' strengths, right, and uses them to the best of their ability on the field, right? So these are all knocks that I had on Brady. So my thinking is this. If you couldn't learn from Carolina when you got fired, you came to Buffalo, you're still having the same problems in Buffalo. Predictability, vanilla type offense, can't understand player strengths, can't scheme things up for receivers. Then how are you going to do this as a head coach if you haven't changed your ways then? So there's two things. Either he can't change or he doesn't want to change, right? And you guys know coaches can be stubborn, just like me, like you, like people in general. We get stubborn, we get locked in our ways. So is it just a stubborn thing, or is it just he just can't do it? So now he's a head coach. On top of that, they gave him pretty much, he's an OC as well. He's going to be calling plays. So you got a first-time head coach that's also basically an OC, same season. So he's calling plays and a head coach. McDermott didn't even do that till years later when he was already you got the experience as a head coach. So I just feel right away when I heard that too, I'm like, wow, like first-year head coach, already has problems with offensive coordinator, and he's gonna have his plate full from year one. Don't like it. I did not like that at all. So I have worries, I have concerns, but it is what it is. He's the head coach.
Yeah. Well, and even with you bringing that up too about him being the first year head coach and play calling, I remember, man, Sean McVay, that was something that he ended up walking back off of because he said it was a little bit too much on his plate, trying to be here and then worrying about defense and special teams. So that is going to be interesting. Aramis, how'd you feel about it though, man?
This is quite possibly the most impending doom a Bills head coach has ever had since
that's the optimism.
since the hiring of Aaron Glenn in New York for the Jets.
Oh, no.
Oh man.
He can't win. There's no way that Joe Brady can win here, and here's why. When you, I'm killing you right now.
Let's go.
So look at the way that this man was hired, right? You have an owner and a GM that told everybody in the world that Sean McDermott needed to be better in situations and wasn't. He hit a proverbial playoff wall. You fired a 9-year veteran head coach that had taken you to 2 AFC title games, and you claim that's not good enough, right? That was your initial statement. The Broncos game, the proverbial playoff wall, that's why he was fired. Okay. Going forward, we're looking for a CEO-style head coach, right? Now, nobody in the world would ever think CEO head coach. You know, that sounds like Joe Brady, man. We might as well give him a try. Like, nobody in the world is saying that. Nobody, right? So then he gets hired, and then you have to consider now. You have to consider how serious the situation is. Your owner and head coach just told you that it is Super Bowl or bust because they fired the guy that's gotten you the closest you've ever been since Marv Levy, and that wasn't good enough. So the guy that's going to replace him with a 30-year-old Josh Allen has got to get it done. How much more pressure do you want to put on a first-time head coach? And a guy that's got to call plays now on top of that. Like, again, so much impending doom for this guy. It's unbelievable. And the other part of this that can't be intelligent, and I'm talking about from a Brandon Beane perspective, it can't be an intelligent move to put that kind of pressure on yourself as a GM. Because if I'm going to, it's my show now. I'm not only the GM, but I'm the president, right? So everything is up under me right now. Everybody reports to me, and then I go and I talk to Terry, right? That's how it works. So I'm now putting a first-time head coach together with my 30-year-old best player in the world quarterback. And I'm saying to both of them, hey, you guys know that Sean McDermott didn't get it done right. I need you guys to do what he couldn't. First and foremost, you're in the AFC now that has completely exploded with quarterbacks and coaches and talent in general. You don't just have to go against Mahomes and Burrow and Jackson like you did for the last 6 years. No. You've got Drake May. You've got Daniel Jones when he gets healthy in Indianapolis, because that head coach knows how to use Daniel Jones. You have you got Herbert now, who's got a friggin' genius offensive coordinator over there. Like, there's so many up and coming guys. Jacksonville's got
Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. Come on now,
yeah.
So
not crazy about Bo Nix, but you can add
Nix.
Yeah.
Broken foot.
That is still so weird. Oh. Oh God.
Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, this is what Joe Brady is up against, and as much as we want to feel like, man, is Bills over everybody, how can you say that when you don't even have a number one wide receiver? Like, you don't even have the most important thing that your quarterback needs in order to be able to succeed. Like, a run game ain't it.
Yeah.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, people point to, the Ravens won with a good run game and defense. Where has our defense been in the playoffs? You give them 30 points a game. Like, what do we really? Right. So again, Joe Brady's in charge of fixing all of this. And this is the most pressure any young first-time head coach has ever been under.
Well, and to piggyback on that, it's not as if he has this long amount of time either. Because if we're firing McDermott right after what he just was able to accomplish, it wasn't like we bottomed out. It wasn't like we missed the plus. It wasn't like we were scrubs. It's like, did they call it a catch or call it an interception away from going to the next level, right? Going to the AFC Championship. So with that, it's like, the expectations are for him to hit the ground running. Now, I'm nervous about that, though. And in all seriousness, it's like, as much as I would love to just be like, yo, man, it's going to work out. It's going to be smooth. My concern is everything that you guys said. I guess my only rebuttal, or the only thing that I would say to make myself feel a little bit better, is the familiarity, the continuity. And if he's willing to adjust, if he's willing to, okay, man, let me hear more what you're saying, Josh.
Right.
Josh, let me give you a little bit more input in this thing, man. I think if that is the case, maybe we could get more of the production. Maybe we can get more of this receiver production specifically, because like you said, man, bringing up the Ravens, winning it, running the football, playing defense. I'm like, man, how old were we when that happened, right?
Exactly.
Pittsburgh just moved off of that mindset, right? In terms of defense, it's like, bro, it's hard. You have to be perfect. Yep. Your margin for error is too small in this league with these quarterbacks. And we've even seen it from our standpoint, right? How many times has Josh done something freaky where it's like, oh, that was great defense. You just don't have an answer for that.
Right.
So we know firsthand what that is. So that's why I'm looking to say lean into it. And I'm hopeful that now that Joe Brady, because I say, okay, when you were in Carolina, man, you also had a first-year head coach, right? A first-year NFL head coach, Matt Rule, coming from college. I was here when Doug Marrone was his first time being an NFL head coach coming from college. It's not always the smoothest transitions. Okay, I'm just letting you know. It's not always the smoothest. So if you're an OC and you're young and you're with this new dude, who knows what that power dynamic was? You come over here to Buffalo, and you're not OC right out the gate. No, you have to work your way up. You have to wait for two guys to take the job and then get out of there for you to get that spot. So how comfortable and confident do you even feel? Let me call what I want to call right here versus, Sean, we straight right here? Different mindset, different mentality. So I'm hopeful that, okay, now that you completely are in control of this thing, you 100% have the stakes, and the only person that you're answering to is Bean, right? So if Brandon Bean is already saying that, hey, man, as we go, it's on me now. No, I can't point the finger to anybody else because McDermott's gone now. We know the next person that has to go would be Brandon.
That's it.
Even though Brandon has done a great job bringing in talent, it's like, hey, bro, we still have also had some holes that we still look at like, hey, man, what is that? Why haven't you fixed that part just yet? So I don't feel like he's absolved out of this thing either just yet. So the whole situation, it does look like, man, for Brady, it's just like, dude, you are walking into the fire.
Walking in the fire. Yep.
There's a movie called Enemy of the State. You ever seen it? Will Smith.
Oh, absolutely.
Remember at the end of the movie there, the cop dude goes to Will Smith. You're either incredibly smart or incredibly stupid.
Incredibly stupid.
Right?
It's one or the other, man.
Here's the aspects of it. You just talked about the incredibly stupid part, right? The incredibly smart part, if we're going to be a little bit optimistic about this, is Joe Brady's got a connection with a very prominent wide receiver in the NFL right now. His name is Justin Jefferson.
Hey, don't you tip me with a good time. Don't you do this. Don't you tip me with a good time.
Okay.
Don't you start talking like that today.
Got connections. They kept their first round pick. It's only going to take maybe a first and maybe a mid-round pick next year, or maybe two firsts or whatever. You get that guy on your team with Allen, and just you don't change anything on the offense. You just get that. You just add that guy right there.
That changes everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Joe Brady,
100%.
every call that you called last year works way better if that guy is on the roster, okay? If he's on the field, all them calls that you should be calling, just like, are you bored calling that call? Did you really need to call that call? All them calls that we have, I know I'm not the only one to be feeling like that at the time. I'm like, why did you call that one? Like, was that just for Josh to Josh, get creative real quick? Was that what that was? Like, all of that look good. Justin Jefferson is out here.
Yeah,
Ooh, I like that. All right. I see what you want. I see what you want, baby. Because that's a splash. And going back to even what you said, Tommy, about, man, if you know that potentially we're going to be moving on, and I think what you said this earlier. It's like, if you know we're going to be moving on from this guy, why, use his first round draft pick? Why use that asset? Why try to trade a resource if I don't even believe this guy's going to be here a year from now? With Joe Brady, different conversation. If you say to yourself, man, I don't want to deal with the draft just because of the development, as we've seen, right? We know, right? The draft is supposed to be surefire. If you take a person in the first, second, and third round, they're going to be starters. They're going to be great. Hey, man, and if they're really good in college, they'll be a Hall of Famer. Surefire. I think we would all agree over the past 5 years that is not always the case with the draft. No. So, if, Brandon at this go around, he's like, maybe I don't want to go into the draft and be hopeful for another guy to develop. I love proven production. I prefer veterans over rookies. I love when we got Brandon Cooks. Why? Because it's like, this dude knows what he's doing. He's been a 1,000-yard receiver at multiple locations. I don't have to worry about any of this stuff.
Same with Cooper. I said the same thing when Cooper came.
Give him an argument.
That was my argument when we got Cooper initially. Was that you got a guy at least in here that's been there, done that, proven, a guy that defenses have to respect. Right, that's the one thing I kept saying last year. Is like, we don't have that guy. We don't have a guy where defenses are going to respect. They dared us to beat them through the air, and and it failed. Really, it backfired many times. So I hope, because I don't think Brandon Beane's an idiot. I think Brandon Beane's I back Brandon Beane probably more than a lot of people do. Right now, Brandon Beane's under a lot of fire with Bills Mafia. I still am, I created this thing called We Believe in Bean Island, right? Where we all jump on Bean Island. We're hanging out with Bagula. Right? We got the yacht out there, and I'm bringing people on the dark side. So I still have my
got the Sabres game in the background. Don't worry about it, guys, man. We just
come on. Yeah, we got plenty of room on Believe in Bean Island.
What's happening right now?
Matter of fact, we lost some people after the hiring of Joe Brady. We're like,
they said, "Oh, we out of here, man. Get me up out of here."
Yeah, everybody in the world hates this man, and he want to give him an island.
Right. I gave him an island, right? So
just gotta lean into it sometimes, man. Lean into it
all the way.
Yeah. Right. So look, man, I still got a little bit of faith in him. But this year, though, if he doesn't get it right, he's fired. Like, there's no other way around it, right? And if you watch that press conference, Pagula kind of hinted towards that.
Yes.
Like,
when he said, I could be wrong.
I could
be wrong.
Right. And him cutting off Bean multiple times and Bean like looking over, going,
between Bean and Biscotti in Baltimore, I'm like, y'all both just look like, I don't feel comfortable just sitting right there. All right, I'm here, but am I really here? I feel like I'm in the hot seat.
The hot, right? He knew the big boss was talking, and Pagula was aggressive. See, I didn't hate that press conference, by the way. A lot of people, Bills Mafia was like, oh, it came off. So I thought Pegula was honest at times, brutally honest, which I don't mind, right? But then also he came off a little arrogant, a little bit smug, a little bit aggressive. But that's a billionaire, right? Let's be real. Like
you don't get there without having some of that. Yeah, man.
But I'm just saying, like that's a lot of NFL owners. They come off a little bit smug. I mean, look at the Baltimore owner when talking about Harbaugh. Like he came off a little bit, but that's how they do, right? I was not surprised. I was like, you're surprised that Terry Pegula was aggressive and smug and cut off? Like that's a good point. Come on, this is an NFL owner, right?
Like the way I looked at it was, I thought it was refreshing to hear just full transparency in terms of, man, this is what I was feeling. If you're an emotional guy, be an emotional. If you're an analytics guy, be analytical. I like it though that he was just consistent. And that's my thing. It's like, man, be consistent with it. Right. We will adapt to you because, hey, when it's yours, you get to run how you run it, right?
Yeah.
We have the opinions, but it's your bankroll, right? You're the billionaire. So we're going to have our opinions on it. But I just like the fact that he was just like, yo, this is why. And it's like, man, we can agree or disagree with that. And that's why we're able to really look at Joe Brady and say, man, you know what you're walking into? Because we heard what he just said. Like, he spoke this and the action was that. All right. Yep. And you're next. Nothing changes.
I'm going to tell you, it won't be 9 years this time.
Oh, not
get what I'm saying? Like this,
like
9 years was very nice. This will be like, let me tell you, like Joe Brady after 2 years is.
Yep.
This thing is going south. He's gone after 2. I my prediction, because one, the fans will absolutely lose their mind.
Yeah.
And Pegula quickly move on from being and have to do a recall there. And get a new GM, a new president of football operations, a new head coach. But we're hoping, obviously, as Bills fans, it works out. But, like I said, going back to that press conference, it's funny that Pegula mentioned Keon Coleman when they brought up receivers. Now, I don't even think Coleman's name was brought up. It was just he brought his name up.
He wanted to make sure that he let – I'm talking about Keon.
Coaching staff. But guess who's on the staff? Guess who pushed for Keon Coleman? Joe Brady, who, by the way, in this press conference mentioned and said, I pushed for Keon Coleman to get drafted. So it's just weird how already, like, Joe Brady's like, yeah, that was me. Like, just a heads up. I'm glad I'm the head coach now. I think he said, like, now Keon Coleman. So Keon's staying, it seems like, which is fine.
Everything surrounding the Keon scenario was weird, though, because even when you saw how they spoke on it, but then you get the combine video leaking, and it's like, all right, this just feels just who are we trying to, like, point the finger at? I don't know. It just felt real weird surrounding it, man.
And I don't think they were, by the way, those videos that they post every year, they know, listen, those are like, they're looked at, they understand what they're posting. They're not going to just throw bean on it. Like, they understand when they posted that video, right? They're not dumb.
They're out of context.
They do those videos, right? They cut and slice and put what they want on video. So it's definitely out of context. Like, that was, to me, that was a decision made by McDermott and Bean and coaching staff, and ultimately, really. And what people don't understand is McDermott had a lot more say than what people want to think that he did. McDermott had a ton of say in the drafts. And I think when people want to blame or point the finger at Bean for the drafts or how the roster was made or filled, this was really McDermott's 53. He had say on the 53. He had say on who was being cut, who made the team, who he didn't want to make, who he wanted traded. Wyatt Teller got moved on because Bobby Babbitt couldn't figure him out when he wound up being an All-Pro in Cleveland. You know what I mean? So, Jerry Hughes left and wound up having more sacks than he did in Buffalo under Sean McDermott. Like,
shout out to Jerry, man. Let's go.
Right. So, Puna Ford, people forget about Puna Ford being, couldn't even get a game day jersey, goes on as a Pro Bowler. Tim Settle goes somewhere else and plays at a higher level. So,
Houston.
like, people want to go, oh, man, Brandon Bean, terrible. But yet he's run key pieces here that people forget about, right? Or people want to be like, only the bad. But what about James Cook? What about Josh Allen? What about Spencer Brown? What about Osiris Torrance? The list goes on and on about
how we feel about Kincaid. I think we like Kincaid, right?
When he's healthy,
when he's healthy, at least. When healthy,
right. But there's some good quality players here. Is there some that didn't work out? Sure, but once again, I think a lot of fans want to point or remember the bad and not really look at the good. We have a running back who led the league in running this year, right? That was a pick that Brandon Beane made, but people want to forget about it. So I'm just saying, when it comes to the draft, that was definitely both guys involved, heavily involved, and now it's going to be very interesting to see now that Brandon Beane has full control, right, of this team, where the draft goes, how free agency goes. Because if there was one knock I had on Brandon Beane, it was free agency. I thought he did a poor job of free agency. A lot of money wasted on players that were here for short term, didn't work out. A lot of 1-year guys when he could have, instead of signing 10 players, you signed maybe 6, and 2 of those are needle movers, right?
Foundation pieces.
And then you build your 53 through the draft or UDFA. It's like, so I kind of felt like he kind of rushed it at times through the free agency, and just made some, unfortunately, some poor decisions.
I have a theory on
that's
that.
real.
I have a theory
Talk to
on
me,
that.
baby.
So one of the things that I kind of noticed about Sean McDermott is he had a hard time relating to players. Right, and that was something that that's in the Tyler Durden report. You can hear that from a lot of different places, right? Because of his difficulty relating to players, he often liked to get older guys, mature guys. He always talked about the maturity level of the draft picks that he brought in. That's one of the things he appreciated about these cultural picks that he brought in through the draft and through free agency. And when you consider that. I don't mean this to sound bad, but that cancels out a lot of guys in the NFL. Like, let's be real. You know what I'm saying? You got that much money, you that young, like, I'm trying to do what I'm trying to do. You feel me? Like, I'm out here.
He said maturity. Coach, we don't speak that language over here, baby. I speak dinero and touchdowns. All right? You got to chill.
That's it. That's it. So there's a part of this where you may be able to defend Beane from the standpoint of, well, the players you bring in are all these good, great cultural fits, but they're mid-tier guys. Well, again, no disrespect to anybody that fits in this mold, but if you're a mid-tier guy and your market value is mid-tier, but you fit the culture, guess what? The Bills are hunting for you. Like, that's just what it was at that time. So, I'm going to bring this up on my show tomorrow. I think the clearest indicator that we can have of whether or not this is going to begin to go in the right direction is going to be what we see in free agency. That's going to be the first sign that we have to see, is this a Brandon Beane show now, or was it always a Brandon Beane show? Because if they start signing the same players, well, then it was always, and we know for sure. Brandon Beane wanted this whole team the whole time. It was never shown.
If the trend continues, then we know where the blame where the blame game. And also too, I do want to say too, also player development. I feel like sometimes we didn't do a good job with player development. That's also on not just McDermott but coaching staff. If you look at a great example is Bobby Johnson. When he moved on and we got Aaron Cromer, wow, what a difference, right? The positional coaches matter, right? It's
absolutely,
a big deal.
They do.
That's why off seasons, and people don't realize how important, and Arthur, you would know, how important off seasons are at camps when they get the one-on-ones with these positional coaches. Once the season starts, I'm guessing kind of done. You're leading up. You're practicing for the week. You're not really getting
game
the one-on-one.
planning is very different. Game planning night and day compared to off season where it's skill development. Man, we're trying to make you into a better player, whether it's fundamentals or even if it's your mental of, man, let's get in here and watch this play. Let's watch this. And because you don't have the urgency of, I got a game on Sunday, I don't have to worry. I can actually worry about me. And that absolutely is the case when you talk about these position coaches. I mean, shoot, I think that's going to be the interesting part when we see who else Joe Brady adds to his staff. I know one of the guys, Pat Meyer, comes over from Pittsburgh, and it's like, man, I've seen the guys that he's had to work with and the guys he had to develop and where he got that offensive line to compared to what it was. I'm looking at that coming to Buffalo, and I'm like, oh, yeah, this could work. Yeah, because I know what he was dealing with down there. Absolutely. So that's the part where it's like, but that's only one of those hires, right? We got to see who else he brings and how even Joe, how hands-on he wants to be in some of these scenarios. Because to me, I'm like, man, do you want to be the guy that, since you're calling the plays and you want to take on that role, are you going to be the guy that's, hey, Josh, just sit down, let's talk together, man. What you like, what don't you like? Hey, man, we got to improve this right here. Better decision right here. Are you going to be that guy? Or are you going to have a quarterback's coach in here to do that? Like, those are some of the things that I'm interested to see, because that is going to continue to help with all their development. Josh didn't just wake up like this, man. Come on, we've seen this dude put that work in off season, right? And we were like, oh, Dable. And then from Dable, we talked about Dorsey. Was like, man, these dudes have had, their impact or imprint to a degree on him. So I'm just trying to figure out, how do we continue that? But these coaches, they're going to matter a lot. Absolutely.
That's a great point, especially with the quarterback coach. Like, I felt like when we had Dable here, and a lot of people too, like they kind of crap on what Ken Dorsey did in Buffalo. Ken Dorsey was an excellent quarterback coach. Like,
come on,
Ken
man.
Dorsey is one of the best. He got Cam Newton. Cam Newton actually talked about him in his MVP year when Ken Dorsey was there, and he praises him for his development as a quarterback. When he got to Buffalo, Josh Allen actually had his best season up to date with under Ken Dorsey. And kind of like Joe Brady, if you guys remember going back, Ken Dorsey was like highly like this offensive minded genius. And like that was also going around at that time. Ken Dorsey getting interviews. Remember that? Like, so his name was floating out there. Then he got the shot. And what many people failed to realize is Ken Dorsey's first year, we were a top 5 offense. Like his first year, this offense wasn't bad. Like this offense was top 5, and it was. Aramis, go back and look.
No, I'm not doubting that. I'm just most of what he was running was Dayball's offense.
Correct. So that's where I'm going with you. However,
I'm just saying. What do you want me to do?
However, no, you're right. But to piggyback off that, right? A little bit. Yes, it was he kind of took over the playbook of Dable some. However, after that season is where I feel McDermott stuck his hand in the cookie jar of the offense. Oh, yeah. He didn't prior before, and that's my biggest issue. Now, we don't know what Ken Dorsey would have done if that didn't happen. I guess that's really the biggest question on Joe Brady that I think a lot of us are going, well, now that he's gone, was it McDermott's scheme, or will Joe Brady now show us something a little bit more, right? That now that McDermott's gone, McDermott wanted it this way. Does Joe Brady really wanted it this way? And I kind of feel like Ken Dorsey, because if you go and look at Dallas, where he's at now, a pass game coordinator, they were one of the best passing teams in the league. So Ken Dorsey, and if you look at him as a quarterback, people forget from the U.
Come on, man. Went crazy down there. Yeah.
Listen, there's no way like he wanted that particular offense in year 2 where it kind of shifted to, and that's where the whole Stephon Diggs thing happened, and that whole was getting weird because if once Ken Dorsey left, Stephon Diggs' number went right.
But then the other part, and if we remember, the other part that was happening too during that time frame was the narrative about the turnovers. Man, Josh ate too many turnovers. So I felt also like part of it was, man, we're going to make it a conscientious effort to take the ball out of his hands and not have him do too much. And that's when we did start to see them draft a James Cook. And then it was like, okay, you bring in a Ty Johnson. It was like, all right, we're starting to see you use even Latavius Murray at one point. It's like, we're really trying to go running back here. Like, it was like, okay. Right. So that was, I just kind of perceived that as, all right, you want to like make Josh play turnover free or make it where he won't feel as apt to have turnovers. Whereas with Brian Daboll, man, that offense was wide open.
Right.
And we would all agree, even when Dorsey took over, it was still wide open. Yep. But that was that was kind of like the back and forth that I internally was processing with that. Because it's like, man, if you feel like what gives you the best chance to win and continue to win, especially in the postseason, and we're saying, hey, we don't want to have too many of the reckless turnovers. I mean, shoot, we all remember how it was just 2 years ago, first game against the Jets. And it's like, bro, Josh, why'd you throw that? Like, why?
But what happened this year, though? The turnovers actually went up. On a team that was supposed to be short underneath, everything safe. Right. But yet the turnovers were.
But it got so condensed. I think it was so condensed, though. And it's like, man.
And it forced Josh to make plays he wasn't comfortable making, but felt he had to. Right. And that's why I felt like down the if you notice a lot of the plays that like Josh was kind of the turnovers are happening. For me, it almost was just like Josh was like, dude, I have to kind of force it now. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
If I can't, then nobody else will.
Exactly.
Basically.
And I have to do something here. And that's, I don't know if he's totally to blame on that, because I just felt like, at times too, the most successful plays on this offense were plays that were broken plays. Were broken plays, and that's not a play call. That's
Right.
And think about it, though. And
improvising.
Tommy, think about it, though. That also goes back to the receiver situation. It wasn't as if these receivers, whether you were calling it, whether it was schemed, or you just simply won a one-on-one, they weren't getting separation and winning early on. So now, how do I help those guys out? Josh, put the cape on, extend the play. That's the same thing that Lamar does in Baltimore, right? Yep. Extend the play, man. We're going to make these receivers look a lot better than what they really are.
Was that a scheme issue, though? And that's my problem.
Oh, no, absolutely. I feel like it was schemed, but yeah.
Rather than I'm going to scheme things up for so and so.
Yeah.
Like, I go back to, and Aramis, I'm sorry if I'm rambling on here. I go back to Dable days, right? And I bring this up a lot because it's a point where some of Bills Mafia kind of miss. Brian Dable on this team. Yes, we had Stephon Diggs, we had Gabe Davis, we had Emmanuel Sanders, we had Cole Beasley at one point. John Brown.
Oh, holy smoke!
Isaiah McKenzie. But take those guys, right? Take all those guys that we had there under Brian Dable. Stephon Diggs had his best seasons to date in Buffalo, right? Cole Beasley had his best seasons in Buffalo, nearly 1,000 yards. Should have got 1,000 if he didn't get hurt. John Brown had his first 1,000-yard receiver. Where?
Yeah.
Here in Buffalo. Isaiah McKenzie, not even in the league anymore. Shout out Isaiah. Had his best seasons where? Here. Why? Because Brian Dable went and looked at the room and said, okay, what does this guy do well? What does this guy do bad? What can I do to scheme things up? What can I do with Isaiah McKenzie? Well, he has speed. You can't teach speed, but I can scheme it up. I can make it where this guy could be dangerous, where the defense is going, damn, this guy's in motion. Shit, is this guy about to get a pop
hands
pass?
on him?
Right. What's he doing here, right? Like, he still can catch a ball. He has the speed to take it out. So that's what he did well. I feel like, and that's my biggest knock on Joe Brady. My biggest. He's never done that. We had 4-3 guys here. Everybody talks about speed. We did Buffalo need speed. We had KJ Hamler 4-3. We had Elijah Moore 4-3. We have Shakir, who's a 4-4 guy. We have Curtis Samuel, who's a 4-4 guy. Like, we have speed all around. You didn't know how to use it, and that's a big concern. You got to know. You have to know what you have in the room. Go ahead. I'm sorry about that.
No, you're good. Listen, I got one in the chamber, buddy. I'm ready to fire off right now. Watch this. So the other part of this too for Brady is, and I really haven't heard a lot of people say this, but this offensive coordinator gets a head coaching job, and everybody's talking about, well, the offense scored 30 points, and he was the guy running the offense. All right, cool, but did we forget that Aaron Cromer was the run game coordinator all of last season? Like, did we forget that half of the offense was called by somebody else other than Joe Brady? Did we just forget about that? Right. The most successful part of the offense was not called by Joe Brady. Right?
Correct.
So again, like we're in a position now. Like, that's why I keep saying, like, he's doomed, man. He's doomed unless because here's the other part of it. Like, you can't deny. Like, the more we talk about this, the more Sean McDermott looks right. And I hate that, because I was never a fan of Sean McDermott's defense, his philosophy, none of that.
You don't like cover 4 off coverage? What you mean? What do you mean you don't like that? Come on, man. We are not pressing anything, man. If you don't I ain't say 7, I said 10 yards. They get back up. You ain't backpedal. Get out of there fast, all right?
Did you see, Arthur, by the way, did you see what what's his name said? God, Jerry Hughes?
Oh, absolutely, I see it. Come on, man. Hey, look.
Boy, shots fired. Boy.
I felt bad because that's my old locker mate, and I'm like, but like, you weren't wrong though. But like, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah,
speaking truth.
Yeah.
But the other thing to this too is you can't, and this is why I say Sean McDermott's right. You can't deny that it's a personnel issue. You can't deny that. I mean, you go and you get a guy like James Cook. Now all of a sudden you're leading the league in rushing, right? You've been top top 3, top 5 the last 2 seasons with this guy.
He's led the league in rushing touchdowns, and then he led the league in terms of
yards.
in terms of yards. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't deny that personnel makes a difference. I heard somebody call into WGR today, and they were talking to Steve Tasker, and they were saying, we need to make sure that Josh is in a position where, why does Josh always have to be the one putting the cape on? Like, he should be able to depend on other people. And Tasker, God bless him, but he comes out and he says, well, Josh puts the cape on because he's Superman, and nobody else is Superman. The Eagles have figured this thing out. The Ravens have figured this thing out to a degree. The Chiefs have figured that. Like, you can put more than one good guy on the offense around your quarterback.
It's not a crime.
It's not.
It's not illegal.
It's not hard.
You can have another weapon. Even Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, they can't block for him, but he's like, yo, I'm going to give you a Chase. I'm going to give you a Higgins. Heck, I'll even go find you a little running back here, all right? You're going to have what you need around you, okay? I'm just like, we don't have to. They literally strip it down. It's like, yo, take a running back, and other than that, man, if your tight ends are healthy, here we go. It's like, dude,
he had one of the worst. Joe Burrow, I'm talking about, had one of the worst ranked defenses in NFL history going into the Super Bowl, and they almost won.
If it wasn't for the defense, if you think about it, too, it's like,
of course. Kind of proving that point for the defense side. But again, you beat the Chiefs in Kansas City with that defense to get there. And you do it because your quarterback is a baby goat, and you got 2 number ones on the outside. Like, this is the one thing that Josh has never had. He had a number 1 in Diggs. Okay, cool. Where's your number 2 to take the pressure off your number 1? Right?
I would say Beasley at the time, early on. That 2021 roster with Beasley, Sanders was the most, that they ever really surrounded him with enough talent where you can go, okay.
That's why the 2021 Bills was like, that's why that was the backbreaker for the Bills, because they had
are you ready for this, though?
Correct.
But look, even talking about those receivers, though, my standpoint is like, that's not enough to me. Like, if we're like Cole Beasley, and shout out to Cole. Cole, to me, very similar when we talk about Khalil. It's like, yo, these are productive players, but these aren't wide receiver ones. Like, that can't be the go-to every time when we're trying to have an explosive play, and that's what it shifted to. And then even with Amari Cooper coming in, while he was healthy, it was like, yo, you can see the impact you can have with him just being out there. Correct. But then it's like, yo, you move away from him, we bring in Keon, and we obviously seen where that's taking some more time to develop. It's taking a little bit longer than we were expecting. But as a whole, it was like, man, I don't feel like we've ever done a good enough job once Diggs left of replacing that production, or at least the presence of him. Yeah. And the closest thing we had was Amari Cooper. And other than that, it's still, after, I want to say, trying to think of the game where we had the little flea flick after that, it was like, man, he was done. Like, I don't remember him making another play or even being out there to that degree anymore.
Yep.
No, matter of fact, there was no, and that was another point I kept making over the last 2 seasons was like, okay, every quarterback has to have a go-to guy. Like, there's always a play, like a 3rd and long or 4th down. Like, has to be a guy.
Every
that's the go-to
team.
guy.
They're like, yo,
team, right?
That's the guy to worry about.
That's the guy, right? And really, too, for the quarterback to go, okay, we're going, here it is. I trust my guy. I'm going to my guy. This is the guy. Like, and we haven't had that since really Stephon Diggs, right? Like, and that's my point. Like, when we dial it way back, when we go back to 2018, Josh's rookie year, right? They were rebuilding. They were kind of clearing the cap. I get that. Like, that, it was a rough year. They didn't have no receivers. You guys know Robert Foster. Yeah, let's forget the other guy's name that we had that wound up going to Jacksonville. That ran through the glass naked. You know?
The receiver. Yeah. I knew. Oh my gosh.
What's his name?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
He actually did okay after he left. He
was straight down there.
Yeah, he had a little episode there. When he went to Jacksonville, did okay for a little bit. Remember that guy?
You can't be in his locker room no more.
Oh my God! Yeah, dude, you're a wild man.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're a little wild. I forget his name. He did that thing where he would stand up and like elevate, like levitate. Yeah. Remember that? Like off the ground.
Oh my gosh! What is his name?
What is his name? He was on the Robert Foster team. He was probably our best receiver at the time.
Jones. Zay Jones.
Zay Jones. Zay
Jones. So, and shout out to Zay Jones. Like I always look at guys that have downfalls and bounce back, and he kind of had a bounce back. So I love seeing that. Like, so
it was back-to-back weird stuff between the Zay Jones and then Sammy Watkins talking about, yeah, man, I have these visions. Like, bro, what is going on?
Sammy, there was something else too that happened in Buffalo. I forget what it was. We had another issue that was like that. And then, of course, the Richie issues and stuff, but that's a different story. But, yeah.
No wonder Doug Marone left.
Doug said, y'all out of here. All right, y'all are tripping out of the witnesses.
Good luck with this guy. Oh, my gosh. 2019, man. I felt like was when they got rid of Shady. They basically opened the cap and went, okay, we got to get guys in here, right? We can't deal with Foster and these guys. And they got Cole and they got John. That was a great stepping stone. And then the following year, they traded for Stephon Diggs, right? And that's where I felt like, okay, they're kind of building the foundation around Josh. But once again, I go back to earlier in the podcast, they forgot about him. At some point, they forgot about him. And you can't forget about your best player by far, your franchise. And that was a huge mistake. And ultimately, I think that's why McDermott kind of got fired there, too, at the end, right? McDermott's a defensive-minded head coach. Defenses were very heavy in the draft. It was defense. And the defense never got right. Went all this heavy on the defense. Defensive free agency. Big money in Von Miller. Big money in Joey Bosa, right? A lot of wasted money in this year in free agency on defense.
I mean,
right?
shoot, the two D tackles that we paid for, Hoyt gets hurt and it's suspended on top of that, and then Larry Ogunjobi was suspended too. It was like
so it was just like downfall, right? And then you got the guys you drafted that I like, but once again, they're undersized or they're in. Terrell Bernard can't stay healthy. He's in the wrong position, right? Probably should be an outside linebacker instead of a middle linebacker, right? You got guys you're re-signing in Matt Milano when you probably should have signed Edmonds, right? Like, but these are McDermott decisions. These are guys that he wanted on the roster that he felt fit his roster, faster, smaller, right? And that people forget about that. So, but going back to the Josh, I really feel like that's where they dropped the ball because this is an offensive league and they forgot about the most important guy in the room, number 17. That's
absolutely. Can't forget about that one right there, man. Can't forget about him.
Kind of important.
Kind of important.
And not only do we got to protect him, make sure you get the weapons around him, man. We don't want to see him in the boot anymore, but we need him back getting another. Even though he's MVP finalist, we need to be the MVP favorite. All right, that's what we need next time. So I'm with you on that, man. Absolutely. Well, shoot. I guess the last thing I got, man, on the back of this thing is I'm going to ask this now, and then I'm sure we're going to do this again at some point. As the offseason continues on, I'm going to ask it again. But are we closer? Did we take a step closer? Did we take a step back towards that Super Bowl, man?
That's a really I wish I could play my John Cena clip right now that I have, where he says, yeah, that's a clickbait question. Next question. I would say, honestly, I don't think we took a step back. I think we took a step sideways, if anything, or I would say neutral. It's kind of unfair for me right now to know what Joe Brady is going to do. I can't predict the future. I can only go on by what I've seen Joe Brady do as an offensive coordinator, right? This is a different position. This is head coach, right? It is a step up, but maybe, on the flip side, on the positive side, maybe he's the guy that we needed because he's young, he has energy. I did listen to his Pat McAfee interview. I thought that was better, to be honest with you, than even the interview that they had, the press conference, which wasn't a bad one either. So I feel like he has this mindset, this a little bit more energy than maybe McDermott did, maybe a little bit more relatable to the players, as well. Offensive minded, which is something I wanted. So there is positives about it, but then there's the negatives that I talked about earlier. I'm not going to get into again because I'll be here all day. So I would say right now it's too early to tell. We'll find out soon. I can't predict the future, but I wouldn't say this was something that I think is a big step forward. And I don't know if it's a big step back. I would say for now, I'll say neutral or just kind of to the side, right?
All right.
How I feel.
I'm gonna say we took a big step back. I mean,
And look, tell me how you really feel. Come on, baby, tell me how you really feel. Yeah. Look, Tommy's being nice over here. I don't want to say it was a step forward, it was a step back. He was lateral. You know what I mean? Like, I stepped in the same spot. You know what I'm saying? It was good, it was bad. I appreciate you. I'm saying, look, bro. No.
I got you. Tommy over there, slide to the left. Slide to the right. Chris Cross. But yeah, man, this is how I'm looking at it. You look at what happened with the Patriots this year. First year of Mike Vrabel, right? He does the smart thing and keeps Josh McDaniels there as the OC, right? And it's pretty much his defensive system. But that's a prime example of what a tenured, good veteran head coach can do for a young franchise. That franchise still has $70 million of cap space going into next season. That's before anybody else comes off of that roster at the end of the season, right? So you look at where they are now. They were 4-13 last season, 13-4 this season in the Super Bowl, right? There's a level of coaching that goes into that. There's a level of understanding and experience that goes into being able to talk these players and talk the rest of these, assistants through the process of, hey, this is how we get to an AFC title game. Hey, this is what we do in these moments against these types of veteran head coaches that you're going to see in the playoffs. You think Andy Reid is going to struggle against the mind of a first-time head coach in Joe Brady? Like, Joe Brady may have some good plays. He may be able to inspire his guys. This team may play better for Joe Brady because they like him and they want to play for him more than they wanted to play for Sean. Don't know if that's true. Just saying. But that doesn't automatically put Joe Brady in that tier of the Mike Vrabels and the Andy Reids and the Jim Harbaughs and all these great head coaches that are now in the AFC that he has to go through. And so much of what his success is going to be on the back of Josh Allen. Not because of his coaching ability, not because of his ability to prepare the team. It's going to be on the back of that quarterback. So to me, if you don't give Josh Allen that added back, protection on his backside of, hey, I got great coaching to go with me now, this is a major step back for me. It's all going to be on Josh.
I agree with you, Aramis, for the most part, to be honest with you. But I also will say, and I said this before when it came to Sean McDermott, and when we always talked about moving on, and we get, Aramis knows this because we kind of run a similar podcast. Aramis is a little bit more tougher than I am, but I'm a little bit down the middle, right? But I speak it real, and I don't bite my tongue like Aramis. I will keep things 100. My thing was, and a lot of Bills Mafia they were afraid of change, right? Like when we brung up Sean McDermott and it's time to move on. And what we kept hearing, right, Aramis? Oh, we're going to go back to the drought years. Like that. I think that got thrown up more than other.
It's so extreme,
right?
man.
It's so extreme, right? Like there's no way. Everything's going to be terrible now. And I always said, look, man, when you have a guy like Josh Allen, right, which is basically a 1-on-1. He's a top 3 quarterback. Whatever, say what you want, 1, 2, or 3. But he's on that list. He's on tier 1 level list. When you have a guy like that, honestly, you're a playoff team regardless. Like, pretty much. You're going to, I don't care who you get in here. And I said it before. You could bring back Rex Ryan. You still be a playoff team. And matter of fact, I said it even in the past that Rex Ryan, say what you want, but he got a Jets team to 2 AFC Championships games with Mark Sanchez as quarterback, who's no Josh Allen. And he did the same as Sean McDermott, who got us to 2 AFC. So what's the difference? So here's what I see. And here's what fans will say with this Brady experiment, because that's what kind of it is, right? Brady more than likely is going to be a playoff coach. This team's going to be a 10+ win team again. But the problem is 3 years from now, 2-3 years from now, are we going to keep getting booted? Same results, same getting out coached, and then fans are going to go, what are they going to say? Well, we might as well have kept Sean.
I'll die at that moment, just so you know. My heart will stop.
Right. So that was my, I guess, when we got rid of McDermott, to be honest with you, Arthur, I just wanted a clean slate. Like that for me as a fan and as a podcaster and everything, I thought the Bills, the right thing is just to move on from everything in that coaching staff. Yeah. Bring a new coach in here that with a new vision, a coaching staff that he wants to put together, and then you get with Brandon Beane. But like I said earlier, I think this was more about comfort than anything else. And also, Brandon Beane now, his job's on the line. He doesn't want to play this tug of war game with a new coach coming in either. I think the results, unfortunately, and I hope I'm wrong, I really do, but I think unfortunately the results are kind of maybe be the same, which is playoffs out of their division. And I don't want that. And I tell people all the time, and I got a lot of heat this week, Aramis. I did podcasts when we hired Joe Brady live. I did it live today, and I got a lot of green, and some going, "Oh, you're gonna eat crow. You're gonna remember this. I'm gonna come back."
Maybe don't give people islands that don't deserve islands, man.
Hey, man, look, man. That's a nice island. It's a real nice island.
Hey, look, if I'm wrong about Brady and Brady wins the Super Bowl, what do I care? I tell people I don't care. You can come back and tell me I was wrong about not liking the hire.
And look, we will welcome that. That is welcome.
Absolutely. What do I care? Like I keep telling people, I hope I'm wrong. I don't want to be right. About decisions like this. And by the way, no one's perfect. We all have, even draft picks. I was like, I don't really care about this guy. Guy winds up working out. I was wrong. I'll say it. I didn't want them to pay James Cook. And I ate crow all year.
I think the issue here, though, for me anyway, is like, yes, there's nothing wrong with being wrong, and because you learn and all that, right? But the problem now that we're facing is time, and we've already gone through the experiment of 9 years trying to kick at the door several times, and we'll just learn from our experience. We'll learn. Joe Brady ain't got that amount of time. Brandon Beane got that amount of time. They got 5 years maybe of prime Josh Allen left before they have to start going Detroit Lions and build a super team around them. That.
Well, and shoot, we say that. I mean, I even look at James Cook. We know running back position. It's like, man, how long until they fall off a cliff? Typically, we know, man, you getting 5 years, best case, right? So I think of all of that, and when I hear both of y'all speak, it's like, man, I honestly agree. It's like, man, I see the lateral step or the lateral, perspective, but I also can see where you say the big step back. And I'll take the other approach, and I'll say this, man. If both of those things are true, which I do agree, I'm banking on that actually being the difference. Because, and let me break it down, right? If Sean McDermott, he was here for, 9 years, man, had a ton of success, and we know, man, we were viewing him on, can you get us over that hump to get us back to a Super Bowl? But it almost became to this almost like second nature, like, we just know, hey, we're going to be in this conversation. We're going to be there. Almost taking it for granted. You move on from McDermott. We said, man, all the pressure shifts to two people, right? We said Joe Brady, Brandon Beane. We know it's a lot of eyes on them. Well, from my experiences, it's like, man, pressure does one of two things. It's either going to break you or it's going to make you, right? It's going to make you into something beautiful. But it's like, man, we know that feeling of when you're walking by yourself versus when that dog chasing you, like, hey, bro, all right, you run a lot faster. You're like, man, when did you start doing all this, bro? I didn't know you were capable of that. When did you show me that? Well, I got this dame behind me trying to get me. I ain't trying to get got. So, this is why. So my hope is for Joe Brady and for Brandon Beane. We see a difference in free agency. We see a different philosophy as it pertains to talent acquisition in the draft. Because, you don't have that much time anymore. You don't have, oh, man, I'm going to draft this guy 5 years down the line, man. He'll develop. No, we don't have that. Can he play today? If he can't play today, why are we making that move?
Right.
I think that's going to catapult them. I think that makes them prepare with even more of an edge. When Joe Brady is building out his staff, when Joe Brady is actually in these positions, I believe that's going to give him that, or at least that's the optimism in me. But that's what I'm looking at because it's like, man, I for sure can see where, yes, on paper, this is a huge step back. I can see where on paper, hey, if we're going to be nice about it, we'll call it lateral. But to me, it's like, all right, how do we use that? Can you use that? And for Joe Brady, he's a dude that's been fired before. We've seen him take a L in Carolina, and we've seen how he responded here in Buffalo. So for me, it's like, okay, I've seen, you have to have some adversity in how you responded to that. Now your new adversity is expectations. Your new adversity is you have a floor that you have to surpass, right? You can't, if you're less than 10 wins next year, bro, like, you're going to be fire that man. Like,
it's going to be rough.
Like,
if we,
and 10 really wins at this level isn't something that you just guaranteed to get, but it's like, that's the floor.
That's the floor.
That's like doomsday. If you under 10 with Josh, nah, man, we can't have this. So that's going to create a ton of pressure on this dude. But I want to see, can he respond to it? And like I said, I'm just going to give him the benefit of the doubt on the front end to say, hey, man, let's go. Respond. Do something that we haven't seen because you're in a position that you've never been in before.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how I feel about it, though.
And can you look in the mirror like a player would and say, what can I do better to better my craft?
Come on now.
Like that's my concern. And I would say that was, when I said earlier about the hire, my concern is I haven't seen the change. Like that's my biggest concern when it comes to Joe Brady. When I look back at like I said, 4 years ago, when fans are reacting the way I'm reacting here 4 years later, when articles are written about when I'm saying it and I had no idea about this article. That tells me he hasn't changed his ways or is unwilling to. So here it is, bro. You're a head coach now. You got a lot of responsibility. You're taking on a full plate, man. Right? You have to change. You have to adapt. Right? You have to look in the mirror and say, bro, what can I do better today? Right? And if you don't, or he refuses to, this is going to be a failure. Period. Yeah. So I hope he can. I really do.
Yeah. Really quick, I think the one thing that kind of gives me the biggest positive outlook on all this is if you hear what Brandon Beane was talking about and what Joe Brady talked about today in the press conference, the biggest thing to me that they mentioned was their willingness to change schemes or change what they do defensively.
Good point, Aramis.
This mindset of we're going to have a defense that dictates to the offense. That's something I complained about under Sean McDermott for years, like just being so passive with the defense, and to the degree that they're willing to even change fronts. Like Bean talked about a 50 front. I'm like, oh, what? Like I almost did a double take because I was so set in my mindset and convinced that they just didn't want to change anything about this roster. But if they truly are open to changing fronts or changing defensive schemes, that means now you got to get players to fit that scheme. You're going to get better production. You're going to get better overall contribution from the defense, which absolutely helps Josh Allen, especially in the playoffs, and gives him something he never had since he's been a Buffalo Bill. So I would be very excited to see that.
Absolutely.
Facts on that, man. Facts. Man, both of y'all, I appreciate the heck out of y'all, man. This was an absolute blast. Tommy, Aramis, let the people know where they can find you at, man. God, dog, man. We got to do this again, man. I enjoyed this, man.
Sure, let's do it. So you can find me on the Post Podium Podcast on YouTube, Twitter, Spotify. We're on Spotify, too. Pretty much anywhere you like to consume your content. We do our live podcast Mondays and Fridays, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 7:30 Eastern Standard Time.
All right, you can find me Mafia Sports Report on YouTube and on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days. We go live on Monday at 10 p.m. Monday night, uncensored. We kind of just speak freely, and a couple F-bombs going around there, but it's uncensored. And then you got Friday Night Lights at 8:30, sometimes 9. But either way, we go live twice a week. And I also collab a lot with Aramis during the regular season as well. We're good buddies. And Post Podium is a great podcast as well. And that's why we wound up linking up together. And obviously, with you, Arthur Moats, man, you've been awesome. We had you on our channels as well. And it's been we appreciate you guys, you having us on your channel today.
Nah, like I said, man, it's been an absolute blast. It was a blast when I was on with both of y'all. It's been a blast when I was on with you, Aramis, last time too, man. So trust me, like I said, we're going to do it again, man. But appreciate the heck out of y'all. And hey, man, comment section. If y'all enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section as well how y'all felt about it. Did we take a step closer to a Super Bowl? Or are we going in the opposite direction? But either way, we appreciate y'all. We appreciate y'all. All right? Y'all hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, remember, don't nobody circle the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Yes, sir.
Go Bills.